It's a hot topic for Canadian airline passengers. What can be done to improve service and reduce airfares? Last week, the Competition Bureau of Canada released some recommendations. One in particular is getting a lot of attention, allowing foreign companies to operate flights between Canadian cities. Well, to talk about that and the state of the industry in Canada, we're joined by Flair Airlines Vice President of Commercial, Eric Tanner. Eric, let's start with your airline, 42% foreign-owned. How do you feel, how does your company feel about the prospect of having fully foreign-owned airlines competing within Canada?
At the end of the day, we have to compete with whoever's out there in the market. Any capital coming into the aviation sector is good for passengers and it's good for competition. And so we welcome, the majority of the Competition Bureau's report, and we're excited to see what kind of innovations the government can bring to the aviation space.
But up until now, in many countries, including Canada, the idea of a fully foreign-owned airline or even a majority foreign-owned airline is a line that not regulators so much, but governments don't want to cross. And I guess the feeling is that these foreign companies might gobble up the Vancouver to Toronto route, but might not be that interested in Vancouver to Prince George or, Toronto to Moncton. Is that something we should be concerned about?
I think it's something we should definitely be concerned about. I think there's definitely ways to manipulate what the Competition Bureau is saying, but I think the spirit of the Competition Bureau is we need to get more foreign capital into serving those Vancouver, Prince Georges, but even more so, even further north, getting up to Iqaluit, getting up to Tuktoyaktuk. We need to be able to have it become a more viable business model to serve some of these smaller communities. So you're absolutely right. We need to make sure that people aren't exploiting this concept to dilute fares on the Vancouver-Toronto sector while leveraging more access to foreign capital.
Why would foreign investors want to invest on service, let's say, from Vancouver to the north or Vancouver to Prince George? Like, we're a big country with a lot of small cities or towns. So, why would foreign investors even be interested in that?
That's a good question. I think you'd have to ask some investors that. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a very small sector, but that also means that there's not a lot of competition. There's the potential to stimulate more demand, and at the same time, it has to be in partnership with other government initiatives that go beyond airlines, incentivizing visitation to northern communities, incentivizing tourism, providing more reasons for people to be traveling between smaller communities and sort of the southern part of the country.
Flair is a low-cost airline, and so besides this foreign ownership idea, what would you like to see change in order to bring down airfares in Canada?
Well, first, we welcome the Competition Bureau's report. At the end of the day, it validated a lot of things that we say, which is that Flair is a really important part of the aviation ecosystem here in Canada because we keep fares low. In markets where Flair is present, the fares are lower. At the same time, what we really need to see is improvement on how much it costs to travel around Canada outside the airlines. Most of the fees that airports and navigational charges that we see in this country aren't present in other countries. And that's really what limits travel around the country. And so I think we need to look beyond airlines and beyond competition to say, what can we do to make travel more affordable for everybody?
So give me an example of a change you would like to see.
Here's an example. Here in Vancouver, there's a $25 airport improvement fee. But for connecting passengers, they don't pay that fee. And so what actually happens is that people who live in Vancouver or people who are visiting Vancouver to spend money here in our community pay more than customers who are just connecting on their way to somewhere else and never step foot in our community. I think that that's sort of backwards, and I think that can really help us lower fares for our neighbors here in Canada to explore.
Yeah, and those people who are connecting through are using the airport as much as I guess I am if I head out to the airport. One last quick question. I interviewed your outgoing president a year ago.
Yeah.
One of the things he said is that it's tough for a low-cost airline like Flair to compete in Canada. Some of your competitors have gone out of business over the last few years. How's Flair doing? Should we expect it to stay aloft?
Well, first of all, I mean, as you said, we have seen a lot of the other competitors exit the market. And I think that gives us at Flair a solemn responsibility to not screw this up because we are the one affordable airline left in Canada. And that's a huge responsibility. That said, what we've seen is an amazing resonance with our product. We have the highest load factors in Canada. We are the most reliable airline in Canada. We cancel fewer flights, both by percentage and absolute terms, than any airline in Canada. And our on-time performance is the same as all the others. And so we are continuing to improve, and I think customers are really noticing that.
Well, you said that our studio is exactly halfway between your office and your home.
Yes.
So hopefully you can come by again.
It would be my pleasure. Thanks, Ian.
Tanner, thank you very much.
Yeah.